This guy has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is SunsFan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Tiny. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Tiny is a strength initiation hero who deals a redonkulous amount of burst damage. If he gets good farm and levels early, his potential to snowball out of control is almost unmatched. Skill build. Skilling Tiny is quite unique. You'll want to max your Avalanche and Toss at first priorities since they are your bread and butter skills throughout the game. But an interesting tidbit is even though Avalanche has first priority to start, once you hit level 7 the priority changes based on the fact that you're getting more damage by leveling Toss again. Either way, by level 8 you'll have both these skills maxed out. The unique part about this skill build is usually when you ignore a hero's ultimate at 6, you generally wait until 10 and 11 to skill them. This is not the case for Tiny since he will gain even more damage for Toss by upgrading his Grow. Because of this, you'll typically see Tiny players level Grow at levels 9, 11, and 16. This of course means that you'll skill Craggy Exterior everywhere in between. I feel I must mention a secondary build that has been semi-popular on the professional scene. In these games, Tiny players are matched with another hero with a devastating initiation, Tidehunter being one of these main heroes. What the Tiny players do is toss the Tidehunters in order to initiate. Because Toss is not used in conjunction with Avalanche, maxing out Toss first is the most efficient. Also because it adds more damage to your Toss, getting Grow at level 6 is usually done in these games as well. Item build. Starting items for Tiny are actually very important because you need to have enough mana to combo at level 2. The magic number for that of course is 240. Get your basic regeneration, any combination of tangos, salves, and mana pots. But again, the important thing here is to get enough stats to hit that magic number. A lot of players will fill up on Iron Branches or get a combination of Iron Branches and Mantles of Intelligence. Boots for Tiny can vary quite a bit depending on what kind of game they want to play. Arcane Boots are an excellent choice since you're such a spell-dependent hero. But if you want to get a little more stats and good attack speed, then get some Treads. Depending on what level of Grow you have, you could potentially deal more damage by stunning a target, hitting them a couple times, and then tossing them at the last second. Phase Boots on the other hand could be really handy as well because positioning is so important with Tiny, especially considering his main priority is to gank. For mid-game items, the only thing that matters is a Blink Dagger. This will set up your Avalanche Toss combination better than anything else. With this item you become a long-range threat that the squishies on the opposite team need to be wary of. Another cool optional item in addition to a blink would be a Force Staff. This will allow you to blink in and demolish an enemy hero even if they're close to allies, because you still have an escape mechanism in the newly acquired Force Staff. Late game items can really depend on what your goals are. The most common pickup in the later stages is an Aghanim Scepter, as it makes you an absolute farming and pushing machine. An Assault Cuirass is also excellent for pushing capabilities as well as giving Tiny the much needed attack speed. Ashivas and Hex are also considered great late game items on a Tiny. Gameplay. Okay, first things first people, and I'm not exactly sure how this has become a source of confusion, but the correct combination for Tiny is Avalanche and then Toss, not the other way around. The reason this combination is so deadly is because if you Avalanche an enemy and then toss them back onto the same spot, they'll take the damage from Avalanche twice. But all in all, think of Tiny as an assassination hero. He goes in for a quick kill and then does whatever the hell he wants after. He can stick around to right click a bit, or just run back and wait for his spells to come off cooldown again. You could play Tiny as a solo mid, in a dual lane, or even a tri-lane where he's the main farmer. If he's in mid though, then your job is to gank at first opportunity, which should be shortly after you purchase a bottle. If you're in a dual or tri-lane, then farming a bit for either your boots of choice or even a blink could be considered depending on how well you're doing. But whatever you choose to do, just realize that your main objective is to get to a point where you can repeatedly kill heroes from any side of the map. What will aid you in your quest for snowball dominance are TPs and Smokes of Deceit. If you've watched any of our other guides, then you'll know that these two items should not be underestimated since they will let you completely bypass the enemy wards, therefore making your time ganking much more enjoyable. If you have a Blink Dagger at this point, then keeping track of you will be next to impossible for the enemies. But I feel I must mention one thing. Sometimes Tiny players get in the habit of just comboing off their skills whenever possible, even if they don't expect to get a kill. If you aren't going to do enough damage, and you have allies in the vicinity, then just take your time. You have the option of stunning and then waiting to toss once the stun is worn off, or even just tossing the enemies to your allies for a more guaranteed kill. And speaking of toss, like stated earlier, you can always use your toss to help one of your allies initiate into battle. Even if you're just chasing an enemy but can't quite catch up, remember that toss has insane range, so that otherwise weak ally next to you could potentially be enough to finish that fleeing hero. Now for team battles, you really have to gauge the situation at hand. Blinking in and trying to combo down a caster is usually a good bet if your team's not far behind. As far as what you do once you've completed your combo is really dependent on how the game's going. If you have pretty high levels and don't expect to be taken down very quickly, then by all means just right click away. I mean, with level 3 grow you will have well over 200 damage by this point. But if you aren't confident in your ability to survive, then don't feel ashamed if you have to exit the battle temporarily while your spells come off cooldown. It really just depends on how your game's going. But whatever the situation, just figure out what will allow you to do the most damage while staying alive and then do it. Friends and foes. Tiny has quite a few friends actually, and it's not because he has rock hard abs. Heroes that like to initiate but don't necessarily have the means to do so without a blink really appreciate Tiny's ability to toss salad. Heroes that fit this bill are of course Tidehunter, Enigma, and Earthshaker, just to name a few. Heroes that Tiny should try and stay away from are those that can get rid of his measly mana pool as well as silence him. Anti-Mage is a perfect example of a hero that can not only deplete his mana, but can take Tiny's combo no problem anyway. And any silencing is horrible for Tiny, so going up against a competent Drow or Death Prophet can be a real issue. But the number one hero that counters Tiny, so much so that you'll want to leave the game in frustration, is of course Silencer. You will not, I repeat not, be able to combo your skills whatsoever in his presence. So if you're playing AP and pick Tiny, and then the enemy proceeds to choose Silencer, go ahead and perform a facepalm in my memory. Thanks for watching guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a special shout out goes to Flawless and Luminous for their help in writing this guide. You can check them out at their respective YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. And finally, be sure to check out our new website at dotacinema.com, where you can find a ton of Dota 2 videos along with our live streaming page, which includes me playing with you guys on a nightly basis. My name is SunsFan, and until next time.